Hello again, and I'm once again asking you for your subscription assistance. Okay, so today we're gonna cover it. I'm knocking it out. We're getting this taken care of. A lot of you have asked in the comments of videos, in Discord. I've seen it in places like Reddit, in other forums, on Facebook. I've seen it in groups. I've seen it in a lot of places. Nobody seemed to know how to set this mode up very well from the start. Everybody was kind of lost because 343 did its number company thing and gave us all these tools and said, all right, cool, have fun. Not going to tell you how to use it, but here you go. So yeah, that's where we're at. So I've done it. I've pieced this together. I figured out what we need, why it wasn't working, and I'm going to cover all of that, explain it all as we go along. And this is it. This is how to set up King of the Hill Firefight in your map and get it all to work. So I hope you're strapped in because this might be a little long, but here we go. Okay, to kick this big bad boy off, we're going to start from the ground up. So let's go to gameplay, game modes. We're going to grab a King of the Hill capture zone. Pull that right about here. It doesn't matter where you put it, that's up to you. The settings, we're going to get everything out here, then we'll go over the settings. So the next thing we're going to grab is towards the bottom, and it's called zone capture plate. And that's going to be assigned with this hill, so you have to have it within this boundary here. So yeah, if this is part of it, and it's going to go here. Next thing, we're going to go to weapons. And weapon spawners, just get a weapon rack. You'll need a weapon spawner, so. And then I'm going to grab an equipment spawner. Just a random, no, equipment dispenser. There you are. Put that there. Okay, and then last but not least, we're going to grab an AI spawner. Put it down here. Okay, these are your prerequisite objects. You have to have one of each of these at least. The AI spawners you're going to need more of, but we'll get to that later. Those will be the last things we set up because there's so much to do with those. So you'll need a weapon spawner. You have to have at least one. You have to have at least one equipment spawner. It does not matter anything else about them. You don't have to set them up. You can just place them whatever. Their settings do not matter. As long as they exist in the map, then this game mode will function. As long as you have these others as well. You have to have this. And the King of the Hill capture zone, obviously. And then the spawners. So let's go over some settings. The ones we'll have to change right here. Let's go to our hill first. The only things we need to change here are some labels and the index, which I'll go over that in a minute. Label 1, go up here to Firefight and just use Firefight include. The next one you're going to use as Firefight objective. Those are the only labels you need to put on this. Go ahead, keep this at 1. This is going to be your first hill because gonna go ahead and tell you now that the group index in this scenario is your set. And so each set has a number, obviously, and the first set will be associated with the first hill, which is this one. And if you have it set to sequential order, then it will go to your next hill, which would have 2, and then your next hill, which would have 3, and so on. So there we go. That one's set up. Now we need to do this. The only thing we need to change here, the only thing is our first label. And we need to change that to Firefight plate. That is the label it needs. That's it. That's the only thing you have to do. You can name them if you want. I'm not going to because we don't need to since there's no scripting involved. All right. And then lastly, the hard part. I wouldn't say hard part, but more time consuming. Setting up your AI. The label, that's the first thing we're going to go ahead and do. Our label it needs to be Firefight spawner right here. It has to have that. All of your AI for this game mode that you want to work with this have to have that label. Okay, you can set up your AI however you want. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to have one grunt here because why not? The team, set it to team 2. That's important. Alright, trigger by script has to be on. Because even though we're not using a script to spawn it, King of the Hill Firefight has a built-in script in its game mode. So it will do the respawning and spawning for you. So that's good. The group index, same thing. This is your set. What set does this AI belong to? Does it belong to set 1? Yes. Okay. And if it wasn't obvious from me saying that, our subgroup index means this is our waves of the set. So wave 1, that will be this grunt. And I'll explain, like, see how all these 3 are on now? I'll explain that in a minute. That's actually something you can do. Okay. The move zone, you don't need a move zone because the way this is set up is using this as Firefight objective, creates this as a move zone. So they will come to this hill anyway without a move zone being required. And it will treat this zone as the move zone. So you're good there. Okay. But this still ain't functional because you're going to need something else. You're going to need this. You're going to need a second wave or a second set. You have to have at least a spawner that has a different group index for this game mode to even function, to even get the hill to spawn. You have to have a spawner that has a different group index than the first one. You can have 10 spawners with group index 1 or set 1. As long as the 11th one has group index 2, then it will function and work. But if you don't have one that has group index 2, it won't. But since this is set 2, place this over here. Leave that there. I'm gonna duplicate a couple of these. There we go. So that way I have wave 1 and wave 2 of set 2 right here. Same thing here. I'm gonna duplicate this one more time. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna turn, if you couldn't tell, I turned off on the other one anyway. On this one I'm gonna turn subgroup index 1 off, and I'm gonna turn this one to on number 2, which means this one will not spawn on wave 1. This one will. And then if you, yeah, pretty obvious where we're going with this. I'm going to turn this one to 3 because this will be wave 3. They're all grunts, so it doesn't matter anyway. But there you go. Now, if I turn on index 2 here along with this one, that just means that this one will spawn and it will be the only one to spawn on wave 1. But when wave 2 gets here, this one will spawn, but so will this one. So you're just simply saying, okay, what waves can these AIs spawn with? So yeah, this one can't spawn on wave 1. This one does. But this one can also spawn on wave 2. So there you go. That's how you stack them like that. And then, of course, you could do it like this. Just like that. It won't spawn on wave 1, but it will for wave 2 and so on. And same here. I'm going to go ahead and turn on 3. But keep it off for this one. So that way this is the only one that starts to activate on 3. There you go. Last but not least, go ahead and duplicate this here. Turn all these off, because this will be your boss. There you go. Turn subgroup index boss on. When the boss spawns, it will cease all respawns, and I'll explain how the respawning works when we go to messing with it. I'm just gonna change it to bitbap. Oh, bitbap, bitbap. There you are. Okay, there we go. That's our first set right here. Set 2. Gonna just yeah, there we go. So now it has 3 waves, set up the same boss. I'm just gonna kind of repeat a lot here. Oops, there we go, because I don't want it to get too time consuming. It's already a long enough video as it is. So set this to 2, and then there you go. You have a set 2 boss. So now we're gonna set up our other hills. So, and luckily there's not a whole lot of things we have to change. Just duplicate your first hill. It's got all your labels. And then change that group index to 2. And then do it again for hill 3. And change that group index to 3. And then 4. And yeah, you get where we are going with this. And then 5. Capture plate. No settings required to be changed. Just slide them on over to the zones that they will be, you know, associated with. There we go. Now, if you want to have the AIs for that, you just set them up the same way, except make sure the group index matches the hill that you want them to fight. So this is hill 3, so the group index would be 3. So I'm going to go ahead and speed through this while setting up all these other AI spawners and all that good stuff. Okay, I have them set up. I set up our third one to not have a boss, because I'll show you how that functions. I set up set 4 to have only 1 AI, and there's a reason I'm showing you that as well. And then I have right here our 5th wave, or 5th set, which is basically the same functioning as these. So we're about ready to test this bad boy out. One thing I'm going to mention is, before we get into the testing, is right here your hills. If you have the score to win set higher than the amount of hills you have, the game mode will break. No AIs will spawn, no hill will spawn, and you're going to be soft locked. So to make sure that that don't happen, that just keep the score to win equal to or less than the amount of hills that are in your map, and that will prevent you from getting soft locked and having to end the game. So there you go. we're gonna test it out, and hopefully everything goes pretty good. And but before we do anything, there are some game mode settings I'm gonna show you to change. So let's go. Okay, so you're gonna go to mode editor, and I'm just gonna pick a random one so that way it clears my settings. Okay, go to 343 Industries. Go to Firefight King of the Hill, just the basic one. Go to mode editor, and actually I think it did keep my overrides, but that's okay. I don't remember which ones they are. Sequential sets, I have it set that way, so that way hill 1 will be first, then hill 2, then hill 3, and it's guaranteed to be that way instead of at random. The next thing you're going to want to change more than likely is override map AI placements. Make sure that's false, because if you don't have it that way, it will take over your AI spawners and spawn what these things say down here instead of what you already have them set up to. So make sure that's false, and then all your AI will remain what you have selected from Forge mode. Then last but not least, the only thing else I changed was this right here, so it captures faster so we can speed through it. That's it though. Let's go ahead and jump in and see what we got. A good way to tell if the game mode worked is 5 seconds after the game begins. The first hill should start to spawn, and after 5 seconds, if it doesn't, the game mode is broke. You'll need to go change something. But there we go. The hill did spawn, so we are for sure gonna have that. And there's our AI. Pop those guys. And see, they won't respawn until you start to capture the hill some. Then when you do that, you can be outside of the hill, and if you kill a wave, it immediately respawns. And they will infinitely respawn. So no worries about any scripts having to respawn your AI. Unless you have specific ones that are a little different and unrelated to the firefight that's going on. Then you would probably run some scripts to respawn them. But there we go. I'm going to go ahead and start to capture it some more. Well. What are you doing, buddy? So yeah, another thing to notice is if once the boss spawns, all respawns will stop. There. Yeah, all respawns will stop once the boss spawns. So that basically it's like, hey, final wave, you're not gonna have any more respawns. And then it's gonna do a little break, resupply weapons. And then after that, if everything worked out right, our second hill should spawn, whichever one I set that to. Yeah, that one over there. That's hill 2. Oh, and yeah, see, the first one will spawn with the hill, but the next hill, or the next AI, will not spawn until you capture it. So, right about now. So the thing about this is, notice only one is spawning, because I didn't have this one set to have more than one per wave. So this one grunt will infinitely just respawn every time you kill it. Pop him and a different one will spawn. Pop.
Perhaps we'll name our next.
There's that boss. Same guy. But notice that the AI did not respawn. If I kill the boss, no respawn. So there we go. Go ahead and finish this hill out. And yeah, keep your eye out, because I will be doing a skulls video on how to do different skulls in your map, even without firefight mode. At least I think so. I haven't played around with them a whole lot, but I do know how to set them up. So I will be covering that soon. So once this is up, this should be our third one right here, right? Yep. This one doesn't have a boss. So I'm going to go ahead and capture this one quickly. I'm not going to play around, so that way we can move on, because this is the same thing. Here they come. Yep. No boss. See, once the boss wave starts, the respawns cease, even without a boss. This next one is important because you'll notice that since there's only one AI, that even when you start to capture the hill after you kill it, it will not respawn. So once this next hill starts, which should be this one, you'll notice guy over here spawned. But even if we kill him while capturing it or anything, he will not respawn. So that's Oh, they will capture the hill too. There we go. See?
Enemy team took the hill. Hill control.
See? Nothing. No respawn. He's not coming back. So yeah, if you only have one AI set up to a wave or a set at all, that's the only AI you're gonna get. He won't respawn. It's a bug, I don't know, but that's pretty much how that works. I wanted to go ahead and cover that. And our last one is just back to default, how we have our how we had our first set up. So after this finishes, we will do that. Are those grenades? Can I blow them? Yeah. Go grab a BR. Oh, that did not spawn a BR this time. Alright. Popped him. And then this one's set up with a boss. So let's go ahead and finish this out.
Hill ready. Hill control.
So here's him. Go ahead and take care of you. Take care of you. Okay, we have a boss that's probably gonna obliterate me. And that's game over. The last thing I want to mention before we close this out is, what if you don't want the hill to move? You don't want the hill to change, even though you want different rounds, different sets, all that good stuff. Just to move the hill in here with this one. There you go. Just make sure you have all your settings set up. So you can have 5 different hills or whatever, or however many sets you want to have. Just go ahead and make sure all your settings for them are set up and have the capture plates next to each other on there. And then it will work. You'll have one stationary hill and all that stuff will work just fine. So that's something I wanted to make sure to cover before I close this out, because I'm pretty sure someone's going to ask, and it really is something simple. I wanted to make sure that it's out of the way. So there we go. And there we go, guys. Knocked that one out, and hopefully all your questions could be answered here. If not, there are comment sections. There is the Discord, and you can ask me or your fellow viewers something. I don't really know what to call that. Anyway, yeah, you can ask, and we will try to get you an answer. But that's how you do it. That's how you get this mode set up. And yeah, I know it didn't make any sense sometimes for them to, you know, do all this, because they didn't explain this anywhere. 343 did not say any of this, but we've got it. Here it is, and I hope that it helps set up your map the way you want for this new game mode. I'll see you guys on the next one.